Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Wednesday and Happy New Year 2023. Thanks for joining us after a week's break from live stream. We are back and we thank our sponsors today, which is Wyndham Pagosa. Boy, have they been busy along with everybody else. We're just trying to get an idea of how the community did over the holiday weekend or the holiday weeks, and town has been very busy. So as I started out the holiday season, I want to kind of close it up first and foremost with thanking all our businesses and the people that work in our businesses, not just the owners, but everybody. Thanks for, it is our jobs. We get that. But it's also it's our industry, it's our tourism industry, and thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for making Pagosa such a welcoming place for people so they want to come back time and again. So thank you, everybody, and again, Happy New Year. We are certainly extremely busy here at the Chamber of Commerce because we have a lot that happens at the beginning of our year. First and foremost, we're going to kick off with, as a chamber member or maybe a business who says, why should I be a chamber member? We have a class for you next Tuesday at 8:00 in the morning. That is our Maximizing Your Membership class. We go over a lot of the benefits, tangible and intangible, for you on what your chamber membership does for you. So please join us next Tuesday morning, 8:00. We also have a free breakfast for you. Give myself or Kim a call and let us know that you're coming, just so we can make sure that we have enough food for you here at the breakfast. But it's a great class. It's free. It's an hour. It's quick. You get it done pretty much before you get to work. And please join us. So again, next Tuesday at 8:00 in the morning. Then, of course, we kick right into Winterfest. We haven't had much winter, but we're going to kick into Winterfest. And now that we've had snow, we are ready. And as we mentioned this morning on our radio show, the river is downsizing just a little bit because we have some freezing going on. So we are sure that the river is going to be very cold for our penguin plungers. If you are an organization that would like to raise some money for your group, please think about getting some people and plunging in the river on January 21st. Also, let us know that you're plunging so we can give you some additional coverage and marketing and letting people know that your organization will be plunging. There's also going to be sleds on res. We'll be launching both mornings on the west side of town, as well as ski touring, and there will be the Barkus Parade on Saturday morning as well. So a ton of stuff going on. We'll be talking more about that in the weeks to come. Then I do want to make sure that there are two very important chamber aspects and programs that we have going on right now. The first one, of course, is voting for our chamber board of directors. There are 6 nominees that are slated and are running for 3 positions on the chamber board of directors. 6 candidates run for the board. 3 of them are selected, and they will serve a 3-year term. Please take time to vote. It takes about a minute. You go to our homepage, pagosachamber.com, scroll down to the voting, and that's it. There's a bio of each chamber nominee. And so even if you don't know the person well, look at their bios and think, well, I think that you like what they say. You maybe think that that business or that industry could be represented on the chamber's board of directors. So, but you should vote for only up to 3 board members or 3 nominees. And your business is allowed only 1 ballot. So please make sure that if you have multiple managing owners or managers or a husband-wife team, you vote just once. So please make sure that that happens. But most importantly, please vote. The other thing that we would really like to encourage our community to do is to vote for our community award winners. That is the Citizen of the Year, the Volunteer of the Year, Small Business of the Year, and Nonprofit of the Year. Those community award nominations are also on our chamber website, pagosachamber.com. Again, scroll down under Community and Chamber News, and there is a whole graphic regarding the community awards. this is a time to thank people that help our different businesses, our nonprofit organizations. What I encourage is those businesses and nonprofit agencies self-nominate. Nobody knows your organization better than you do. And you should be proud of what you do. So do so and self-nominate. The other thing that I encourage you to do is be as complete as you can about the nominee. It's really difficult for the selection to committee if they say, hey, the person's nice and they do a lot of work. Great. What does that mean? So please be as specific as you can. You're not doing that person that you're nominating justice if you're not complete with their achievements and their contributions. But most importantly, nominate somebody. A nomination is a significant community thank you to that person and to those organizations that do so much for our community. We will do the award ceremony on February 8th at our annual meeting. So please, nominations are due by January 18th. So please, you have some time, but please get those forms in. Now, we have a great show before us today. We're going to kind of introduce a few new technology things in our show today. We're going to do some video clips. We hope, fingers crossed, that everything works properly. But, you know, this is a topic that probably many people think, it doesn't impact me. It doesn't engage me. I know nothing about this. It doesn't concern me. And you know what? Chances are it does. So we have with us today Sara Cole, who is with the Department of Human Services. And we also have Ashley Wilson, who's been with us several times with Rise Above Violence. And ladies, we are here to talk about human trafficking awareness. Kind of a scary topic that, again, I think many of us that live here in idyllic Pagosa Springs, Colorado, thinks, never in my lifetime is this going to affect me or impact me. But I think you're going to give us some education to talk about the contrary. So I'm going to flip a coin, or maybe you flipped a coin. Who wants to talk first? Maybe Sara, can you bring us into what Human Trafficking Awareness Month is all about?
Yeah, thank you. So like Mary Jo said, my name is Sara and I do work for the County Department of Human Services. January is National Human Trafficking Awareness Month to bring awareness to potential signs, potential victims, and kind of what human trafficking is. So for those of you who may not know what human trafficking is, it is the exploitation of another person through force, fraud, or coercion for some type of labor, including commercial sex. Human trafficking also consists of the denial of a person's human right to freedom and basic dignity. And a lot of times, human trafficking may not be what people think it is. So that's why it's really important to know what the signs are, because you might see something and something doesn't feel right, but if you're not sure what those signs are, you may not have the courage to report. So it's really important to learn those signs, and you can go to thisishumantrafficking.com. And some of those signs, for people who are interested or curious or want to know more, they could be someone is not being paid for work or being paid very little. That is considered labor trafficking. They are not being paid for work because they owe the employer for food or housing or other resources. They're being coerced into engaging in commercial sex or sex trafficking. They're being watched. Oftentimes, they aren't left alone. Their trafficker is always with them and tends to possibly answer for them, and they seem very afraid. There are signs of injury or illness that have not been addressed. So those are some of the signs, and traffickers tend to exploit those experiencing housing insecurity, those experiencing poverty, any unstable living environment, addiction or substance use, lack of support from family and friends, and even lack of access to services.
So Sara, does this run the age gamut from teenagers? Obviously, we hear a lot about it nationally, to just mainstream, middle age? Is there any kind of demographics data out there?
Well, it's really anybody could be a potential victim. Traffickers often tend to look for people that are vulnerable, that might need something. Sometimes it's an intimate partner, sometimes it's family and employer. Oftentimes they know their trafficker. So it really anybody could be a potential victim, and that's why it's even more important to learn what those signs of human trafficking could be. And even if you're not sure, call, make a report. There is a state line hotline, and it's anonymous. You don't have to give any information. You can ask questions, make a report, see what services are in the area if you are a survivor of human trafficking. And that number is 866 455 5075. Or you can text if you're not comfortable with calling. You can text 720 999 9724.
That's a long one. Is there a place where this information is readily available? Because I know I didn't write it down just now. Is there a place that we can go where this information is available?
Yeah, you can go to thisishumantrafficking.com. They have that number posted. You can text that number. I believe they even have a chat support, possibly. And you can even go to the Laboratory to Combat Human Trafficking as well. They have that number. They have that number to text. There's a lot of support for potential victims and survivors to get access and call or even text that number, because sometimes they're not able to call.
Sure. So can we see one, can we try and maybe see one of our video clips before we roll into Ashley and what Ashley can tell us about her experiences through Rise Above Violence? How's that work with the scheduling?
Yeah, that works
Okay.
fine.
So, okay, folks, this is the first for our live stream. Thanks, Sara, for doing this for us and taking us to the next level. And we're going to show you a video clip. Let's hope.
You saw me, or someone like me. You didn't like what you saw. What you didn't see was how he lied to me, made money off me, threatened me, forced me to do things. You didn't see I needed help.
This is human trafficking. It is a crime. If you suspect this is happening to you or someone you know or have seen, go to thisishumantrafficking.com.
Okay, so great. Ashley, you've been on our show a number of times, and of course, we thank you for everything Rise Above Violence does here in our community. We talk about community award winners, Rise Above Violence being one of our former nonprofit agencies of the year. Again, addressing an issue that some people, again, turn a blind eye to with domestic violence. So where does Rise Above Violence see or fit in with the human trafficking component?
Sure. Well, I think, there's a lot of instances where an intimate partner is also the trafficker, which means it's domestic violence that is happening, as well as this person then also being trafficked. There are some new, well, I don't know how new the laws are, but there are some laws and there are some protections for victims of trafficking. And so those would apply then to a victim of domestic violence who is sort of also in that scenario. What we see is that the tactics in the domestic violence scenario are often very similar to the tactics a trafficker might use, right? They're using coercion, they're using control, they're using threats and manipulation. They're potentially threatening your safety, the safety of your loved ones, the safety of your animals, right? To compel you to then do something that you don't want to do. Whether that's, sort of a sex act, whether that's robbing a store, right, to fund your family, they are forcing you in a way to do some of these things. But they are also then your intimate partner, the person who you say you love. You might call them a husband or a wife. You might call them a boyfriend or a girlfriend, right? And so those components overlap. I think the biggest thing is there's a lot of gray area in all of these topics. There's also a lot of overlap between labor trafficking and sexual assault. So because of a lot of the living conditions who people, when they're in labor trafficking situations, there also tends to be a lot of sexual assault in those scenarios and in the spaces in which they are having to live. And so Rise Above Violence can provide services to anyone who's experiencing domestic violence or sexual assault, whether they are also being trafficked or not. But we do understand that trafficking is sort of this extra component, right? There's other things that are also happening. There's other laws, there's other protections in instances where you have the overlap of sexual assault or domestic violence as well as trafficking. And so I think in our community, RISE can be a resource for those people who are experiencing those things. And if it doesn't necessarily fit into what we provide, we have the hotline number and can connect them to other services.
So ladies, you know, a lot of times you may hear something of maybe you work with somebody and through conversation, somebody says, you know, I have to turn my check over to my boyfriend, husband, whatever, girlfriend, whatever it is, you know, it can work both ways. Because they never, you know, how maybe as a friend, as a coworker, you know, people are like, I don't want to get involved. But yet you see the impact on this person. That could be a component of human trafficking. That, again, as you said, the denial, the control, the financial, the monetary control. Can you give us any help? You know, again, we really don't want to get involved, but maybe we should. Either one.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if they show fear, you know, they could be isolated from their families or friends. You know, maybe they don't see them as often. Possibly those could be possible signs of human trafficking or even domestic violence. And again, I really encourage people just to learn the signs. You can even call the number for Rise Above Violence and get assistance with them as well if you're not sure. You know, there's still, you can always call somebody. You can call someone here at the Department of Human Services. You can call Rise Above Violence. You can call the hotline and just ask questions. Just say, I'm not sure, but I am concerned.
Great. Okay. Ashley, anything else? Any recommendations, any tips, any insight from your standpoint with Rise Above Violence?
I mean, I think at RISE, we work a lot with friends or family of victims. Victims aren't always ready to come forward and get help, whether it's from us, whether it's from law enforcement, you know, whatever that looks like. They're not always ready for that. And so friends or family can call in and talk to us, and we can help walk them through how to support a person in their very specific scenario. Again, there's so much gray area. There's not a whole lot of blanket things we can offer other than listen, believe, and then ask for help.
Sure.
And so I think that those are the three things that if you have those concerns, it's always better to call and kind of run through your scenario with an advocate or someone on the hotline in order to kind of then delineate what is my next step? What can I say to this person if I'm going to choose to get involved, right? What level am I willing to get involved, and what can I actually say that might encourage them to get help or to take that next step? I will encourage folks, so anyone who might be experiencing this, experiencing domestic violence or sexual assault, our hotline, which was just on the screen, is 970-264-9075. And it is answered 24/7, 365 days a year. So you will get an advocate, you will get someone local in our community if you call that line, who can walk you through those questions. If you're a victim of any of these things, they can help you get a safe place to stay while you figure out what's next, and certainly provide education. If you're a friend or family member, you can also call that number and you can ask questions and you can see what does it look like. You can learn, you know, maybe ways to help or things to say. And I know that the national hotline that Sara mentioned, you know, if you feel like someone is being trafficked in a labor situation, those phone calls, they're going to have way more resources around what to do in those instances if there's not also violence happening.
Okay. Sara, take us home. What other highlights would you like to emphasize?
Well, I really like to emphasize that, there is a bit of a difference between like a rural area and a more urban area as far as resources. However, that doesn't isolate potential victims or survivors from resources or getting help. There is help available. The Department of Human Services and Rise Above Violence, we work really close together and pretty well together. So if there's any services that, we can refer clients to or potential victims and survivors to, we're going to work together and make sure that those services are provided. And with the Department of Human Services, we kind of have like a statewide resource with the Colorado Human Trafficking Council, with a laboratory to combat human trafficking. So there are a ton of options for potential victims, and just know that you're not alone in this, and there is help for you.
And because it is Awareness Month, there is an awareness event coming up, I understand.
Yes, January 11th is National Wear Blue Day, and that is a day where we encourage you to wear blue. Blue signifies the official color of anti-human trafficking awareness. And usually what we would like to do is have people post on social media wearing blue and then have a fact about human trafficking. And again, to learn more about the facts, go to thisishumantrafficking.com, and you can just copy and paste a fact onto your social media. And just raise more awareness within our community, your family, your friends, get the conversation started.
Okay. Well, I'll have you back, but let's just see our last clip today. And I think we'll be back to say goodbye to both of you. Thank you. Hold on a second.
I miss having dinner with my family. I found this job in Colorado through a recruiter so I could make money to send back to them. But none of us have been paid. We're forced to work in different places, and we're always being watched. I wish I could tell someone. I wish I could tell you, but you're having dinner with your family.
This is human trafficking. If you suspect this is happening to you or someone else, go to thisishumantrafficking.com.
All right, everybody. Well, again, I think a lot of us, it hits a kind of an uncomfortable part of us. But I think more than anything, and what we started with this show was information, education. It's hard to believe we've been doing this for 2 years now, and we've grown it. And a lot of this is awareness for you, your businesses, our community. And so, ladies, we thank you so much for joining us today. Any last words of wisdom from either of you?
That, it's really important to learn the signs. I saw somewhere on another government agency saying that the only way to combat human trafficking is to build strong communities and strong families. And part of that is kind of advocating for ourselves and other people. And if you see something, say something, report, call, ask questions. There are a lot more resources in our community that are available to a lot of people.
Okay. Ashley, any words of wisdom and parting?
Just for victims out there, that they're not alone. Biggest thing to remember. And if you're supporting someone, you're not alone either.
Okay. Thank you, ladies, so much for this really educational and eye-opening presentation. We thank you for doing that. Remember, the entire month of January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month with Wear Blue Day next January 11th. And on that note, we will thank everybody for our extended show today. We really appreciate it. Please don't forget, maximizing your membership next Tuesday. Nominate someone for the community awards, either Volunteer of the Year, Citizen of the Year, Small Business of the Year, or Nonprofit Organization of the Year. And don't forget to vote for one of our nominees on the Board of Directors for the Chamber of Commerce. And of course, remember, Winterfest is coming up in just a couple weeks. We look forward to sharing more information with you. And on that note, everybody, Happy New Year and welcome back to Livestream. We'll see everybody next week, same time, 2:30. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.